all of us individually been thinking about what would happen next, no matter what. You know, because the kind of illusion had run its course. I'd already, as part of my beautiful family, lost my boy.
Robert Plant is one of the most legendary and influential rock singers ever.
Oh yeah, here I am. I've been here since all time.
As the lead vocalist of Led Zeppelin, he mesmerized millions of fans with his powerful voice, charismatic stage presence, and poetic lyrics. But behind his success was a journey full of tragedy, hidden for half a century. In this video, we will reveal Robert's deepest secrets and the whole story behind the hardships that haunted Robert's life. Let's dive in. Robert's humble beginnings. Of course, Robert's early life, which included poverty and struggle, fueled his creative energy, allowing him to exceed the limits of any particular music genre or imagery connected with them. Robert was born on August 20th, 1948, in West Bromwich, England, during post-World War II economic decline as the youngest of mining engineer Robert C. Plant and housewife Annie Celia's 3 children.
I didn't know about fame. I just knew that I had to try and take it into account that I might have been an accountant and I was a grammar school boy in the middle of a very post-World War II austere Britain. There must have been a way out, and I found it.
The financial crisis was a major problem in most homes. Nonetheless, the close-knit communities such as the Plants provided strength and durability to young youths like Robert. Initially, while growing up, he had an artistic and creative bent of mind, capable of imagining great things, and had an all-right interest in singing and rock and roll. Starting with his school years, it was noted that academic achievement was not a considerable strength of this actor. However, he was fond of the musician who influenced him, Elvis Presley, and desired to become a musician too. Born and raised in a community with many predominantly industrial factories, American blues always fascinated him. Famous musicians such as Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, and kept his dream of becoming a musician alive. Even though Robert's family planned to continue the family business and become coal miners, he did not wish to follow in their footsteps. Robert Plant's battle against numbers and notes. Robert Plant also faced the age-old struggle between passion and practicality early on. His love for music clashed with his father's desire for a more traditional career path. But how did it all begin? Let's rewind the clock and delve into the origins of this conflict. It all started when Robert was just a 9-year-old lad, belting out Elvis Presley tunes into his hairbrush. His passion for music was evident from an early age, and even his father recognized his talent, taking him to the town's blues club, 7 Stars. Little did his father know that this would be the breeding ground for Plant's musical aspirations, as he cut his teeth with the house band, the Delta Blues Band. In an interview with the BBC's Desert Island Discs, Plant shed light on the generational gap that fueled the conflict.
Sexy, it was alluring, it had great driving beats and rhythms, which we couldn't even get near.
Like in many of his eras, his father couldn't comprehend the idea of making a living through music. To them, a real job meant something more conventional, like accountancy. The stage was set for a showdown between father and son, with numbers on one side and notes on the other. But what do you think? Do you believe Robert's father did the right thing by pushing him toward a more conventional career path? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Despite his father's reservations, Plant enrolled in an undergraduate program in finance and accounting at the London School of Economics. It seemed like he was on the path to fulfilling his father's wishes, but fate had other plans. After 2 weeks, Plant abandoned his accounting studies to pursue his true passion, music. However, although he dropped out, he did retain some skills that helped Led Zeppelin save tremendous amounts of money on their tours. For example, he once suggested renting a jet and sleeping on it rather than paying for hundreds of hotel rooms. But just before this, he went through a big deal of emotional instability while trying to fight for what he loves and even paid a big price. After all, sometimes it takes a rebel with a cause to change the world. Robert Plant's quest for independence. Robert Plant had no idea that his audacious choice to leave school at 17 would lead to his being one of the most recognizable voices in rock history. His quest for independence led him to immerse himself in the English Midlands blues scene, where he honed his musical skills and discovered various blues and other genres that would shape his future. "I left home at 17, Plant recalled, and I started my real education musically, moving from group to group, furthering my knowledge of the blues and other music which had weight and was worth listening to. This decision to pursue his passion for music over conventional education set the stage for a remarkable journey filled with twists and turns. Plant's early influences included legendary blues artists like Johnson, Booker White, Skip James, Jerry Miller, and Sleepy John Estes. As he delved deeper into the world of music, he took on various jobs to make ends meet, including working for the major British construction company Wimpey in Birmingham, and even doing a stint at Woolworths in Halesowen Town. During this time, he cut 3 obscure singles on CBS Records and sang with a variety of bands, each experience adding layers to his evolving musical identity. One pivotal moment in Plant's journey was his association with the Crawling King Snakes, a band that brought him into contact with drummer John Bonham.
This next piece features a man who needs very little introduction, a man who played tambourine on Battle of Evermore, John Henry Bonham.
Their collaboration would eventually lead to the formation of the Band of Joy, where they seamlessly merged blues with newer psychedelic trends, setting the stage for their future success. However, Plant's pursuit of his musical dreams came at a cost. His decision to join the Crawling King Snakes deeply upset his parents, leading to strained relations. Reflecting on this turbulent time, Plant remarked, "Well, I was bound for a proper job, and I've got one." It was a poignant reminder of the sacrifices he had to make to follow his passion. Plant's resilience and talent ultimately paid off despite his parents' challenges and initial disapproval. He managed to carve out a successful career in music, defying the conventional path that society expected him to follow. Looking back on those formative years, Plant mused, "I had my moment of professional potential, and because I didn't accept it, I had to leave home when I was 17. So I toughened up pretty quickly. I made my peace with my parents a couple of years later, but it was good. It was what it should be." If you thought Robert Plant's battle against numbers and notes was surprising, brace yourself. Did you know Plant started as a roadie, lugging gear and soaking in the music without taking center stage? Robert Plant's sonic breakthrough. In 1963, 15-year-old Robert Plant was on the cusp of a sonic breakthrough. His friends and schoolmates were part of a band called the Jurymen, and little did he know his life was about to change forever. According to Juryman guitarist Gary Tolley, Plant started as a roadie, lugging around their gear and soaking in the music without actually taking center stage. However, fate had other plans in store for him. Plant was thrust into the spotlight at the Bull's Head pub in Lye when the band's singer fell ill. With trepidation, he took to the stage and belted out a performance to set the course for his future. Now, the details of that fateful gig are shrouded in conflicting accounts. Plant himself recalls feeling nervous and avoiding eye contact with the audience, at least until 1968. On the other hand, Juryman drummer John Dudley paints a picture of a confident and charismatic Plant effortlessly commanding the stage. Regardless of the issues, the listeners felt Plant's distinctive voice that night. Year after year passed, and Plant met 2 more rock and roll veterans, the guitarist Jimmy Page and the bassist John Paul Jones. The 3 started a band that would become one of the greatest rock bands in history, but their way to success could have been more consistent. At this time, Page and Jones were already giants in the music scene, dragging young Plant along with them. Jones produced records for Donovan and Jeff Beck, did string arrangement on She's a Rainbow for the Rolling Stones, and Page was looking for a vocalist who could fit in with their ideas. His first choice, Terry Reid, was unable to commit due to prior engagements, leading him to recommend Plant as a suitable replacement. Little did they know this recommendation would set the stage for a legendary partnership. Joining forces with Page and Jones was daunting for the young Plant. He found himself in the company of musicians who exuded confidence and maturity, which initially left him feeling intimidated.
Led Zeppelin was a very sensitive and beautiful animal beast, and I think that I respect it, and I want the whole sort of effigy of Led Zeppelin to maintain its respect.
It wasn't until around 1970 to 1971 that Plant came into his own as a performer. While all this was going on, Robert found love. He found solace in the arms of Maureen Wilson. Their love story began in 1966 at a cancelled Georgie Fame concert, where Wilson became his unwavering support system. While Plant chased his musical dreams, Wilson held down the fort with her hard work and dedication, from unknown to uncredited. Going back to 1968, a young man named Robert Plant was like any other musician who wished to be famous. He was still unrecognized even with a contract with a record company and a couple of songs created.
I got the musicians together and I recorded the first album without a record deal or anything at all. I just wanted to see what I could do.
Still, one has to wonder that despite his evident skill and self-assurance as an artist, his name should have been added to the list of performers who contributed to the first Led Zeppelin album. It is one of the greatest enigmas that may baffle Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's legendary detective Sherlock Holmes. Oh, you see, Plant was under this contract with CBS Records, and because of that, he could not get any royalties for the songs in this album.
That first album, emotionally and logically, would be a hangover from Led Zeppelin. The better stuff was to follow.
This legal situation left the man unknown for his efforts, which are important for creating one of history's most significant rock records. It is like getting a lucky chance of winning a lottery, but you do not get to collect your award. This must be what people call a twist of fate. What a tragedy to boot. But when you still watch a football team, believe that things can only go from bad to worse. A terrifying crash. Indeed, in the 1970s, the life of Robert Plant was perhaps the best anyone could imagine.
They were the biggest rock group on the planet, knocking off the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. Everything about Led Zeppelin was bigger. Their sound, their bad boy reputation, and that voice of lead singer Robert Plant.
He emerged as the vocalist of a band called Led Zeppelin, which had recorded tremendous sales. The man is happily married to Maureen Wilson, living on a farm in a remote rural area in England with a baby girl named Carmen and several domesticated animals. Still, he did not expect that he was going to be in not just one but two severe car accidents that would alter his existence significantly. The first encounter with death was while in a copyright infringement case of the famous song Stairway to Heaven. Plant had to be in a court where he was asked about attending a Spirit concert and playing snooker with one of the members of the Spirit band. His response: "I don't remember any of it. Are you wondering why? Oh, that is so shocking. He must have just come from a severe car accident hours ago." Plant said his wife sustained a fractured skull and he was rushed to the hospital with a piece of the windshield lodged in his head. If that was not bad enough, fate had one more jest in for Plant. A few months later, in 1975, Plant was holidaying in Rhodes with his family and Jimmy's daughter when they were in yet another car accident. This time, Plant broke their right leg and elbow, and Maureen, even worse, received a Cherokee skull and a fractured pelvis. Very fortunately, they all lived through it, with the only death being baby Scarlett Page, who died in the screams. Yet tragedies did not stop Plant from soaring high and becoming the solid rock star all fans know and adore. Yet despite being housebound in a wheelchair for months, he was still able to rub platinum records together and record Led Zeppelin's 1976 album Presence, which contains the epic Achilles' Last Stand, originally known as the Wheelchair Song. One can argue that Robert Plant did plenty of things that any fan of this talented artist would consider a nightmare, but like any true rock star, one has to move on from it. But the bad days were far from over. If you thought Terrifying Crash was surprising, brace yourself. We're about to delve into a volatile period marked by lead vocalist Robert Plant's severe car accident. Could this shocking event have changed everything for the band? The unforgettable symphony of hardship. In 1977, the distinguished group Led Zeppelin famously struggled with an interesting predicament. Following a volatile period, which saw them briefly disappearing because of lead vocalist Robert Plant's bad car accident, they were more than willing to recapture their throne as the kings of rock. But now, there was punk rock and Presence. Their 1976 album did not create the impact their earlier ones did. Not to be left behind, the band opted for a world tour to show the world that they were still relevant. Unfortunately, things started going wrong initially, as if Providence had willed it so. This lost Plant suspended the band to have their tour dates.
He continues to inspire awe in his devotees, musicians and fans alike. Some of his antics have mellowed, but his voice is still sublime, and there's still a twinkle in his eye.
Thus, having started their tour in April, they were again in the battle for the stage. July 26th came, and I was in a different environment with new colleagues. The Plant got two devastating phone calls, not just one. The first delivered the heartbreaking news that his son Carrick was gravely ill. The second call shattered his world. Carrick, just 5 years old, had passed away. Just a week earlier, Plant's daughter Carmen had been sick but had recovered. When Carrick fell ill, it seemed like the same old stomach virus. Little did they know it would take a devastating turn. Plant immediately left the tour and rushed home. Understandably, the rest of the tour was called off. With all that happened, Plant found himself at a crossroads, and the weight of grief and loss led him to make a life-altering decision. From mic to chalkboard. When Robert Plant left the music scene, he didn't just step away, he retreated to the family's farmhouse and embarked on a mission to gather the shattered pieces of his life. In his own words, he tried to put it together while grappling with the loss of his son. Music, once his passion, no longer held the same allure. As he candidly confessed to Charlie Rose in 2012,
And we were trying to play with the same sort of interaction in the middle of an event which people come for different reasons. So it was an event, it was a far-out experience.
There were priorities beyond being an entertainer. The rock star lifestyle no longer seemed appealing in the face of personal tragedy. In a revealing interview with Rolling Stone, Plant bared his soul, expressing his deep longing to be with his family. The loss of his son had left a void that even the fame and fortune of Led Zeppelin couldn't fill. It was a tumultuous time, and Plant contemplated a career change, seeking something more meaningful and less self-centered. In a reflective moment with GQ, he acknowledged the inherent insecurity that often plagues entertainers and yearned for a more honest and humble path. His unexpected solution: to apply for a teaching position at the Rudolf Steiner Waldorf schools in the West Midlands.
You think, I really have to decide what to do, and I applied to become a teacher in the Rudolf Steiner education system.
As Plant recounted in a lively interview on the BBC's Desert Island Discs, fate intervened in the form of John Bonham. But how did it happen? Plant arrives at the Waldorf Education Center only to find Bonham waiting at the gate, dressed in a chauffeur's cap and ready to whisk him away in a six-door Mercedes. Bonham's antics were enough to bring a smile to Plant's face as he was chauffeured to a pub, all to change his mind about leaving music behind.
And I was accepted to go to Teachers Training College. This is in 1978. And I was really quite keen to just walk. And, you know, you do change as the days go by, and you have to get harder and tougher, and, you know, but you still got this soft underbelly. John had lured me back in. Not lured, that's wrong. John had been incredibly supportive to me.
It was a classic case of friendship and camaraderie winning over uncertainty. Bonham's unwavering belief in Plant and their shared love for music proved to be the turning point. Inspired by Bonham's infectious enthusiasm, Plant stayed with Led Zeppelin, at least for now. Little did he know that life had more challenges that would put his commitment to the test again. Another devastating loss. In September 1980, the music industry was dealt another tragic blow in the form of John Bonham, the drummer for Led Zeppelin. Since their high school years, John Bonham and Robert Plant, both from the Black Country and following dreams of rock stardom, have been very close friends. But Plant was almost knocked out when Bonham died at the wrong time, and it became clear that Led Zeppelin could not exist without the latter. Bonham was killed as a result of the tragic situation, and the circumstances that led to his death can only be described as shocking. Bonham sustained energy in a mini recuperation and regrouping time for a rehearsal before their first tour that started in 1977. The rock lovers discovered that his battle with alcoholism had reached its final stage. Newspapers told a story of a man who had taken as many as 40 units of vodka on the day he died, hence giving insight into the state of mind of the man. John Paul Jones, who found Bonham dead in the rehearsals.
John Bonham, found dead in bed yesterday in London at the home of the group's guitarist, Jimmy Page.
Narrated that although there were some indications of a more promising performance during the rehearsals, Bonham was steadily spiraling down the awful pit of alcohol addiction. His untimely demise was attributed to a fatal accident, with Jones emphasizing that it could have occurred to anyone in a similar state. The news of Bonham's death hit Plant like a ton of bricks, and the realization that Led Zeppelin could never be the same without their beloved drummer weighed heavily on him. Even after Bonham's son, Jason Bonham, stepped in to play with the band for their 2007 Celebration Day concert in London, Plant remained resolute in his decision that without Bonham, there could be no Led Zeppelin revival. When Jason inquired about the band reuniting, Plant's response was poignant and final. "I loved your dad way too much. When your father left us, left the world, that was it for Led Zeppelin." Then something unexpected happened. His solo triumph. Against all odds, Robert persevered through personal turmoil in the 1980s. Encouraged by Phil Collins, he launched his solo career in 1982 with Pictures at 11, which, despite Led Zeppelin's immense shadow, reached number 9 on the UK chart and achieved platinum sales, proving an artistic and commercial success. Robert prioritized his health by shedding the evil that almost killed him and meeting his friend Jay Donnelly, which helped stabilize his personal life. Settling at their Welsh farmhouse provided serenity after years on the road. Between marrying his wife Maureen and recording successful albums like 1983's The Principle of Moments, Robert rebounded stronger, confronting issues many rock legends never survived. His early solo shows were remarkably successful.
Well, the same great songs, however, they don't quite sound the same. Rock legend Robert Plant is rolling back the years with a new take on Led Zeppelin's iconic hits.
Making a statement at arena scale and cementing Robert as a singular force regardless of backing bands. Critics praised his artistry for evolving beyond blues into more decadent folk rock, enriching songs with spiritual musings. By the decade's end, Robert found contentment despite ups and downs, a sentiment captured by the 1988 album Now and Zen with international hits Tall Cool One and Ship of Fools. His triumph proved the human spirit's resilience in facing loss and addiction while pursuing passions. The car tragedy instilled a deeper purpose, with every note seasoned by life's complexities seldom explored by most rockers his age. Emerging from the darkness, Robert flourished, proudly flying the flag for maturity in a genre glorifying youth. Robert Plant's vocal hurdles. The legendary Robert Plant was known for his iconic scream and impressive vocal range, which have captivated Led Zeppelin fans for decades. But did you know that Plant's vocal cords have faced serious hurdles? Rumor has it that Plant underwent vocal cord surgery in the 70s, sparking endless debates on online forums. Some claim it happened, and others are skeptical. The mystery deepens when the New York Post casually drops Plant's name in a list of singers with nodules extracted from their vocal cords in 2012. The exact timing of Plant's alleged vocal cord surgery remains mysterious. Still, eagle-eyed fans on Reddit have pointed to a possible window between 1972 and 1974, citing noticeable changes in his voice during that period.
Fantastic bands, musical units, but there was no etiquette developed yet.
It's like a musical whodunit, with fans playing detective to uncover the truth about Plant's vocal escapades. Fast forward to the early 1990s, and Plant faced another nail-biting moment when a voice specialist in London delivered a grim prognosis. In 6 months, your voice won't even be able to show signs of surprise. It's over. The doctor's dire prediction threatened to silence Plant's rock star career, sending shockwaves through the music world. We all know that professional singing is no walk in the park for one's vocal cords. Ask Elton John and Steven Tyler, who have also weathered their fair share of vocal storms, but Plant wasn't ready to throw in the towel just yet. He defied the odds with steely determination and made a triumphant comeback, releasing several records post-1990s vocal scare.
Well, if you lose your mojo, you can't get it back. You can talk about reforming it, redeveloping it, shaping it, but you just got to keep it going. You make some errors, mistakes.
Talk about a plot twist. So, what's the moral of this saga? It's a reminder that even rock gods like Robert Plant aren't immune to vocal challenges, but with resilience, a dash of luck, and a sprinkle of rock and roll magic, they can conquer those hurdles and keep belting out those timeless tunes. Robert Plant's divorce. Even Robert Plant, the charismatic singer of Led Zeppelin, has not been spared from more than one misadventure in the matter of love. This man, who once dedicated sweet love songs to his wife, later moved in with a folk singer, you can imagine. It all began with Maureen Wilson, the beautiful woman who had captured the man's heart. She captivated him so much that he even printed the name of the song Thank You by Led Zeppelin II. Talk about a grand gesture. However, what can be a common problem in exterior life is that success in the rock and roll industry negatively influences personal lives. There is some evidence, however, that the couple started experiencing marital problems after the birth of their first daughter, Carmen. Maureen became a housewife while Plant was part of the band's tours. He attempted to balance both the roles of a father and a husband, but nobody could blame the man for choosing the wild life of a rock star. He candidly admitted, "I'd spent so much time trying to be a decent dad, but at the same time, I was attracted to what I was doing in Zeppelin." Despite their best efforts, the couple ultimately called it quits in 1983. A new love. Plant never remarried, but that doesn't mean his love life came to a screeching halt. In the years following his divorce, Plant dipped his toes back into the dating pool, but nothing quite matched his commitment level with Maureen. That is until he met folk singer-songwriter Patty Griffin. The two hit it off and soon found themselves in a serious relationship. Plant even moved in with Griffin in Austin, Texas, and they collaborated on the band's album, 2010's Band of Joy. It seemed like Plant had found love once again, but alas, all good things must come to an end. 2014, Plant and Griffin called it quits, and Plant returned across the pond to England. The breakup took its toll on the rock star, as evidenced by his heartfelt 2017 album, Carry Fire. He said, If you listen to the album, you can hear me pouring out my heart to whoever's interested, cause that's what I do. And it's not easy to do that, believe me. Rebirth through Bluegrass Bonanza. 2007, something unexpected took Robert Plant's musical journey in a new direction. After mainly focusing on rock and blues, a chance conversation inspired him to explore bluegrass music, a genre he had ignored for 5 decades. He decided to record an album with bluegrass star Alison Krauss. Teaming up with producer T-Bone Burnett and top Nashville bluegrass musicians, they blended bluegrass, folk, and country into something unique. They recorded new versions of classic songs by artists like Mel Tillis and Gene Clark, featuring Robert's distinctive vocals over a bluegrass backdrop. When Raising Sand was released in October 2007, it became a smash hit. Unlike any previous Robert Plant album, it broke onto the country music charts and won 5 Grammy Awards, including Album of the Year.
And the Grammy for Album of the Year goes to Raising Sand, Robert Plant and Alison Krauss.
A major upset since that award usually goes to mainstream country albums. Critics raved, and a successful global tour followed. This collaboration gave Robert a new creative purpose, allowing him to make music in a collaborative, intimate environment without the bombast of his rock star past. This bluegrass detour re-energized Robert's artistic spirit. Working with Alison Krauss's laid-back bluegrass band was freeing for him at 60 years old. He loved the intimate nature of bluegrass music, which connected him to musical traditions across generations in a way his rock star persona could not. Free from the pressures of Led Zeppelin fame, Robert followed his creative whims, leading to the 2013 solo folk album Lullaby and the Ceaseless Roar. He is no longer worried about commercial success or popularity, feeling at peace as an artist.
So I wrote the lyrics for this piece against an amazing sort of link to those days, if you like, back there in the 30s and 40s when Clarksdale was the center of the black revolution in music.
The success of Raising Sand opened a new creative world for Robert, liberating him from the blues rock vocalist label he had since 1968. Instead of relying on bravado and performing greatest hits like aging rock stars, he focused on nuanced vocals and thoughtful lyrics. By embracing new genres like bluegrass and folk, Robert showed that artists can remain creatively vital even in later life, leading by example and demonstrating the vibrant energy that comes from continual reinvention. And now that Robert is 75, what is he up to? At the age of 75 years, Robert Plant continues to amaze the music world with his unique voice and years of performance. Icons that Plant pioneered include Freddie Mercury, Axl Rose, and Chris Cornell. He attributes the fact that he is a vocalist with high-pitched screams. However, do you know that this legendary singer was initially expected to appear in Game of Thrones? In a candid interview, Plant revealed that he once turned down the opportunity to star in the hit fantasy series, jokingly stating, "I don't want to be typecast," and admitting that he hadn't even watched the show. Retirement. Despite his age and immense success, Plant shows no signs of slowing down. When asked about retirement, he quipped, "I'll probably retire when I run out of breath." Unlike his peers like Elton John, who are considering retirement to spend more time with family, Plant is determined to keep going as long as he's able. With a net worth of $200 million, Plant is still passionate about touring and performing. He humorously dismisses the idea of retirement, stating, "People used to say to me, 'Well, you must have done enough now?' Enough of what? Enough to retire. So imagine the blessing of being 40 years further down the road, and I still don't know enough to stop in any respect." At 75, Robert Plant defies expectations and inspires with his unwavering passion for music. He says, "There's always something new to learn, somewhere new to take it. I love it, and we love him for it." Robert Plant has lived a fascinating life, experiencing the highs and lows of fame, success, tragedy, and creativity. His journey has taken him from the heart of rock and blues to unexpected ventures into bluegrass and folk, showcasing his versatility and passion for music. Plant's legacy is rich with memorable songs, electrifying performances, and inspiring stories. He continues to be a symbol of resilience and artistic innovation, leaving an indelible mark on the music world.